Hello and welcome everyone to our very first video of the 2021 Global Engineers series brought to you by Engineers Ireland. Today's webinar will be recorded and just a friendly reminder to please mute your microphone. My name is Michael Gallagher. I work in the membership team and yeah, we have a really exciting and engaging webinar coming up for you. I'll be talking a bit first about what Engineers Ireland is and why you might consider joining it and making it your professional home. Aisha from Digitary is going to be talking about how you can verify your qualifications all online in the new COVID environment. And finally, Barry Bowen from Morgan McKinley shall be talking about some of the opportunities that exist for global engineers, even in the context of COVID. So I'll launch straight into my presentation. Some of the things that I'm going to be covering today is around why you should join and what the benefits that we see are. And that includes your certified membership, the international recognitions that you'll get overseas, CPD, that's continuous professional development, a bit about our member exclusive events and networking, the thought leadership that we provide through Engineers Journal and Engineers TV, and about how we can help you progress your career. So first and foremost, Engineers Ireland is an organisation that helps protect a number of professional titles. So these range from fellows who are very established in their profession and who might be actively involved in shaping the engineering profession and leading academic programs in colleges or being director of large engineering firms, all the way through our other professional titles, which includes the highly coveted chartered engineer status. It also includes the associate engineer status, which would be the equivalent of the incorporated engineer in the Engineers Council UK, and also includes the engineering technician. So these are a number of the professional titles that if you have a if you have an equivalent in another country, you may be able to take advantage of our mutual recognition agreements. Speaking of the international recognitions, this kind of highlights at a glance everywhere that Ireland has mutual recognition agreements with. In the blue, you'll see the European Network of Accredited Engineering Education. In the lighter blue, you'll see the Washington Accord, and also in green, you'll note countries that are members of both. So you see that Ireland's ideally placed as a member of both of these. Talking about the CPD, when you become a member, you'll be able to log into your unique members dashboard and you'll be able to actively log all your continuous professional development. This is a great way to make sure that you're continually learning as an engineer, and also a great way for when you're seeking out new opportunities, new work, you'll be able to show that you do have an up-to-date CPD record where you're keeping all your skills sharp. CPD takes many different shapes and forms, and these might include work-based learning, professional body activities, self-directed learning, or indeed courses such as further education through a cert or a diploma or a master's. There are many community and groups which you can get involved in Engineers Ireland. It might be the region which you are living in, such as Donegal or Thomond around Limerick. It might be the division in which you're practicing in, such as the Civil Engineering Division or the Fire and Safety Division, or it could be a society of which you are interested in. So if you're teaching, you might be interested in the Academic Society. It's also a great way to meet engineers through initiatives such as STEPS. STEPS involves getting the younger generation involved in engineering or interested in taking part. And one of the flagship events for that is the Engineers Week, which takes place every year, the first week of March. Engineers Ireland is a great place to keep up with thought leadership in the engineering field. So you can kind of log into the Engineers Journal, read the most recent articles, and even contribute your own if you are a thought leader in your field. There's also a great resource called Engineers TV, where we record all our webinars and lectures and we make them available there for our members. Finally, the last point I wanted to get on and why you should join as a member is it's a great place to kind of progress your career. whether that's obtaining a professional title for yourself or even keeping an eye on the jobs desk to see other opportunities that are open for you. It's just an ideal place to locate your career. So how to join is you go onto our website and all the details are there. You just click on the join now, join now button. Some of the things that we're going to need from you is your personal details, your employer details if you're working, your engineering qualification details, and we'll need a verified copy of your engineering qualification. And then you simply pay online, and that's a very simple process for joining. And I guess I'll be handing you over to Aisha now, and Aisha is going to talk about how you can verify your qualifications all online through a new offering called Verified International Applications. So thank you everyone for your attention, and now I'd like to hand it over to Aisha.
Partnered with Digitary to try and make this process into becoming a new member of Engineers Ireland a little bit more efficient and easier, especially in this kind of COVID world that we're living through. Some of the benefits of using VIA, which is Verified International Applicant, one of Digitary's services. Michaela, could you forward the slide for me? Thank you. Great. So the benefits for new members who are applying to Engineers Ireland is that this enables them to fast track their application, because what you're essentially getting is verified digital academic records. You're able to access them from anywhere because they're digitally available 24/7, and you can reuse them over and over again. So therefore you can reuse them when you're applying for jobs, going to recruiters, and in all other spaces. You can also copy and paste them into your LinkedIn. You have English translations as part of that, and they are digital credentials which are in a wallet for life for you. Great. So this is a little bit of a snapshot of what you would get. So you can see on the top, you would get your original, a digital copy of your original, which would showcase what had been sent by your issuing institution. And then you would get an evaluation report, which is engineering subject specific. And this is yours to get into your Digitary wallet and to share as many times as you please. Great, thank you. So just to take you through the workflow, I want to pick up exactly where Michael left off actually. And once you're on the Engineers Ireland, the website there, if you go on to the next slide. Great. So you're on the Engineers Ireland website, and in the joining from overseas icon where you go into the page there, if you scroll down the page, you get to a paragraph which says verified international applicants. There will be a hyperlink which is, I think, about to go live in the next couple of days. So anyone joining soon will be one of the first cohorts to try this out. There will be a link there, and once you click on the link, you'll be sent to a landing page. If we get onto the next slide, I can show you what that looks like. Great. So this is what the landing page will look like. You've got a summary of benefits there, and exactly what you're going to get through your ordering process. And it's a very straightforward procedure, an application form. If you jump over, yeah, great. So you've got basically 3 steps. Once you've submitted your order, you'll receive an email from Educational Perspectives, who are a credential evaluation partner, who will look at your credentials, go back to source and verify them. They will verify the documents, provide a report, and then you will receive those reports, both a digital copy of your original transcripts, as well as the credential evaluation report into your Digitary account. Great. And this is part of the application process. As you scroll down, you'll be asked to enter in your academic qualifications, and you can add multiple into that. In the admission reference for Engineers Ireland, you will just put in your email address there. And you will put in your email address again, because that's where you'll get your confirmation, and then just add in your personal details. It's a very straightforward process. And as you go through this, you will then submit payment, which is the next time. Yes, you will submit payment, and you'll get a notification that payment has been received, and then your credentials will be sent to you, and via communication with Educational Perspectives, our credential evaluation partner. And at the bottom of the page, there's a number of frequently asked questions. So if you get stuck in the process anywhere, there's a lot of different reference material there. I think that's me. Thank you.
That was brilliant. Thank you so much, Aisha. I'm really excited to see our members kind of take advantage of this, and really appreciate you being here today. And yeah, it's great delight now to hand it over to Barry Bowen from Morgan McKinley.
Thanks, Micheál, and thanks, Aisha. That's actually really interesting just to see the Digitary via there, something that I hadn't seen before. So look, hi everybody, I'm delighted to be here presenting on behalf of Morgan McKinley. I'm just going to share my screen with you there. I'll just double check. You can see that, Micheál? That's all right?
Yeah, that's visible.
Yeah, that's perfect. So just interesting enough, I had an interesting telephone call with a candidate today who has been looking to come to Ireland for the last number of months. Now, as a result of the various different lockdowns that we've had, this hasn't been possible. This candidate is an EU citizen, however, his wife isn't. And he was just informing me that there is a slight delay in applying for visas, which his wife will be entitled to as a result of the latest lockdown that we are currently experiencing. So we are on lockdown 5 here in Ireland at the moment. His wife is not able to apply for a visa and will not be able to do so until the 5th of March. Now, once he successfully obtains a role in Ireland, that would open up a lot more doors for him. But there is just a slight delay in regards to the visa process, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in this presentation. So for me, I'm delighted to be here again, working alongside Michael, Isha, and Shirley, who's on this webinar as well. Engineers Ireland are a formidable professional accredited body in Ireland, and probably one of the most proactive that we would certainly see, and we're delighted to partner with them continuously, because there's nothing more that we like to see on someone's CV, particularly someone coming from overseas, if they have MIEI, which is the accredited membership body, affiliation symbols behind your name. So it tells us that you're proactive as an engineer, but B, that you have affiliated with Engineers Ireland and that your qualifications are accredited, as Aisha mentioned. So for us, we're a privately owned professional recruitment company based in Ireland, but we have offices overseas as well, including in Canada, Singapore, Hong Kong, the UK, and also in Australia, in Sydney in Australia. We are the largest supplier of professional staff in Ireland. We have 17 offices, as I said, across the world, including 5 in Ireland. So in Ireland, we have a presence in Galway, Limerick, Dublin, Waterford, and Cork. And we work across 12 specialist areas, both in perm and in contract roles. In Ireland alone, we have over 300 employees and 2,300 contract staff throughout Ireland. So we're the marketing leader supplier of engineering recruitment. We're delivering permanent contract and temporary solutions to clients across Ireland. We have 10 consultants working on the engineering team nationally. And we also have 2 more consultants working on production and operation roles, and a new construction team of 3 consultants. So in total, we have 15 consultants in Ireland working on engineering roles across those major disciplines. Our specialist areas are quality, validation, R&D, process, manufacturing, automation, and project management. And we are the preferred suppliers to established clients, including Ireland's leading medical device, life science, and food companies such as Pfizer, Hovio, and Amgen, BD Medical, Boston Scientific, and AbbVie. So our nationwide presence gives us a unique ability to anticipate and adapt to recruitment trends and future areas of demand. And as a result, our specialist areas are continuously changing. So as a result of recent legislation, just in regards to the environmental impact that some of our industries are having, we've adapted to that, and we're now working with a lot of I suppose greener companies throughout Ireland, just to improve the environmental impact that our engineers can have the ability to do so. Typical roles then, as I said, automation, quality engineers and quality specialists, process engineers, R&D, and maintenance. And as I said, we've adapted as well, just in line with the market trends, to establish a new construction desk here in Morgan McKinley, where we have 3 full-time consultants working across there. So engineering and the market itself. So thankfully, the growth is still upward. The biopharmaceutical industry, for example, has made a capital investment of approximately 8 billion in new facilities in Ireland, most of which has come in the last 10 years. And this represents close to the biggest wave of investment in new biotech facilities anywhere in the world. So of the top 10 pharmaceutical companies in the world, I think 9 of them have a presence in Ireland. And of the top 10 medical device companies, 8 of them are currently in Ireland. And that's set to actually grow over the coming years. So there will be 5,000 new jobs created in the engineering sector once restrictions have been lifted here in Ireland, and we're hoping that we'll see a significant change in that once we get back to level 2 or 3, whenever that may be. Some people are saying April, other people are saying later on in the year, maybe May or June. What's really prevalent and what's been noted by, I suppose, some of the hiring managers in engineering in Ireland is that 94% believe that there's a shortage of experienced engineers with the right skills, 79% believe that there's a shortage of engineering graduates, and 36% believe that there are difficulties getting work permits and visas, and that's something that a lot of the responsible bodies have moved to change over the last 18 months or so. So 67% of employers are taking the appropriate steps to upskill their employees, and that could be through a number of CPD initiatives. There are a huge amount of government opportunity, government accredited and sponsored opportunities out there through the likes of the Springboard initiative, where you can find more information on that through springboard.ie. 64% of companies are collaborating directly with educational institutions. Just recently, Michael and Micheál and I were taking part in a webinar in line with UL, the University of Limerick, and the Thomond region of Engineers Ireland. So it was great to see those educational institutions such as UL and CIT and UCD in the last number of months coming on board to showcase some of the courses that they have, detailing some of the career opportunities that are there as well for their recent graduates. 43% of companies are looking to attract foreign talent and taking the necessary steps to support engineers coming to Ireland. And how they're doing that is that becoming trusted partner, so that they can avail of the critical skills visas that are out there, and that can be allocated to some of their engineers who are looking to come on board from outside the EU. So for a lot of people on this call or on this webinar, I suppose what's really important is some of the visa situations and options which are available to global engineers. So I suppose for the purpose of this call, the most relevant stamp visas are the Stamp 1G and the Stamp 4, as well as the critical skills visa. I think these are probably the most relevant for anyone here. The Stamp 1G is available to students who may have come here to complete a master's, and the Stamp 1G, upon receipt of your results, will allow people to avail of the Stamp 1G, and that generally will last for 2 years. Once the Stamp 1G visa is up, there would be a need to apply for a critical skills visa or a Stamp 4 visa before that 1G expires. The Stamp 4 then is a very good situation. It needs to be renewed every 3 years, but once somebody has a Stamp 4, it means that they can effectively work in Ireland. They can work in Ireland without any restrictions. The critical skills visa then is actually in the name of the company rather than the applicant's name. The applicant must stay with that company for 2 years. They can apply for another critical skills visa after 12 months, or they can then apply for a Stamp 4 visa in advance of completion, so after about 21 months. But as I said, it is generally in the name of the employer, and the employer has to be a trusted partner. But the good news is that even now, with the restrictions and everything else, that the timeline to apply and to be allocated or to be granted a stamp or a critical skills visa is probably in around 2 to 3 weeks. So it's relatively straightforward. Compared to 2 years ago, that was taken up to 18 weeks. So significant changes and advancements have been changed there. Ireland does have a agreement with 9 companies there: Argentina, Australia, Canada, Chile, Hong Kong, Japan, New Zealand, South Korea, Taiwan, and US. So if you happen to be coming from any of those companies, you can avail of a working holiday visa so long as you have graduated within the last 2 years. For us, it's really important, I suppose, as recruitment consultants, just when we're working with global engineers, that we have the relevant information that we can supply to our clients. Okay, so we would always suggest that any global engineers coming to Ireland, that they do have an online presence, that they have an online professional presence, more importantly, and LinkedIn is obviously the go-to platform for that. So I'm just going to share with you here a profile of a candidate who is well known to Engineers Ireland, Ricardo. He's spoken at a number of these events in the past before. And Ricardo has allowed us to share his profile. And we're delighted to do so, because in this small image here, it shows us an awful lot about Ricardo and his qualifications and his interests and everything else to date. So he has an engineering degree. He's also got a master's engineering. His degree and his masters are affiliated and have been recognised by the Engineers Ireland, as you can see there, the MIEI. He's an EU citizen, and he's got a keen interest in energy systems. So if you are taking anything from today's webinar, I would suggest that you build your profile around this, and try and include as much information that's relevant to obtaining a job in Ireland, similar to this profile. Just going back here, interesting enough, profiles with no photo on LinkedIn get 14 times less views. Okay, the photo must be work appropriate. If you have recently graduated, I would suggest maybe taking, uploading a photo from your graduation with your scroll. Try not to take a selfie, and try and find someone to take the photo for you if needs be, so that it is professional, face forward, and something that you're proud to stand over. One thing I would say is that LinkedIn is not Facebook, so just be careful of what you do like and what you do comment on, because this can all be tracked back to your LinkedIn profile, and generally will stay with you for the rest of your career. Moving forward, we would ask that you write an informative but punchy profile headline, so something that's short and sweet, not rambling. It must be memorable. You want to stand out. So, for example, there you can see a Master's of Science graduate seeking a science position to begin a career, or a graduate working for a world-leading biotechnology company. If you do need ideas, what we would suggest is that you feel free to look at my own profile or Miho's profile or other professional profiles that are out there, just to see if you can grab any ideas from there. Be smart about your experience. So list the jobs that you've held and a brief description of what you're responsible for, what you accomplished during your time there. You can choose to make it either more or less detailed than your CV, and think broadly about your experience, and be sure to include volunteer activities if you have them, be it through college, working with other companies, or if it's something that you may have taken on your own time before you join college or whatever it may be, if you're involved in any charities, for example. Complete any additional profile sections. So if you don't have a lot of experience, don't worry. Okay, if you've earned a prize or recognition in college or outside of college or in school, be sure to include that under the honours and awards. And you can also list your classes, languages, certifications, or team projects that demonstrate the skills you've worked hard to acquire. There's a huge amount of certifications that you can take part in, or that you can complete on LinkedIn. And we would encourage you to do so, because they automatically are uploaded to your profile and just show prospective employers where your interests lie, and show some of the continuous professional development that you've carried out. For the CV, so curriculum vitae is generally what's known as a resume overseas. There is a difference between the two. Resume, I think, is by and large 1 or 2 pages long. A CV can be a little bit longer. But I've just given you an example here of the initial page for you to look at. So you can see there, MIEI again after the name, which tells me that this person, which happens to be my own name, is affiliated with Engineers Ireland, which means again that their qualifications are recognised. It gives a personalised statement, academic qualifications, and then the skills summary followed by your professional experience. So I'd always go with your most present or your most recent experience first when detailing that. The content of your CV. So there's 2 fundamental elements that will help you, I suppose, on your way to a winning CV, and they are content and presentation. Okay, so have a personal profile which summarizes your skills and characteristics. Under each job that you've held, use the month and the year. Include a summary of your responsibilities. If there is a gap in your CV, that's okay, but I would always be as accurate as possible, and be able to stand over what the gap might be it that you're in transit from one country to another. You may have been laid off, you may be made redundant, or you may have been actively searching for a role. But just make sure that the CV and your LinkedIn, that they correspond with your actual factual experience. Include a work appropriate email. That's really important. Include your right to work status. So if you are in Ireland and you are on a stamp 2, or you're applying for a stamp 1G, just make sure that detail is included at the top of your CV, and try not to write in the first or third person. CV presentation is really important, so you want to try and keep it as basic, as simple as possible. Generally, we would ask not to include pictures. All right, or fancy backgrounds or logos of companies, because that can just be sometimes too busy. What's really important is your experience more so than any kind of bells and whistles. Headers and footers, they're not essential. We would say that if you are applying for a role direct, maybe to put it in PDF rather than Word. But if you are sending your CV to a recruitment consultant company or recruitment agent, that you do put it in Word, so that it can be that areas can be edited or adjusted in line with what the client and the employee is looking for. Try and minimize the use of tables, okay, and always check for spelling. And really important is always to have someone that you trust oversee your CV before you send it anywhere. Just very often a fresh pair of eyes can, identify some glaring obvious mistakes that you may have not have seen from looking at your CV for such a long time. The interview process then, so it's really important that you know exactly what you're facing when you're going into an interview. So you can see that by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. And there's a lot of information that we have on our own website that will hopefully allow you to prepare for the interview. So just ensure that you know exactly where you're going, if it's a site visit or if it's a site interview. Most of the interviews, I'd say now at this stage, particularly first round interviews, 90% of them are online. Okay, so just be sure that you're logged in early, that you know you have a working microphone, that you have a working camera, and that you're dressed accordingly and professionally, that you have your phone on mute, that you have any external distractions minimized as much as you can. So make sure that the room is locked, that there's people, if you're sharing a house or sharing an apartment with someone else, that they know that you're going for an interview. Just to give you that best opportunities really to present yourself in that professional manner without any external distractions, as I said. Top tip is that in an interview, it's a chance to sell yourself and be confident and assertive about discussing your experience and your abilities. Highlight what experience is relevant to the position that you're interviewing for and show them that you really want the job. Understand the job description, so know your CV and research the company. Ensure that you've read the job description just prior to the interview. Be very, I suppose, almost know your CV off by heart. There's no need for you to bring your CV into an interview. We would advise that you don't. Have examples from your CV that you're ready to draw on. The interview styles are generally technical and competency, so prepare for competency-based questions using the STAR technique. The STAR technique gives you the opportunity to answer questions efficiently and to the best of your ability. So it's detailed there. So the situation, the task, action, and result. Okay, a lot of interviewers and HR professionals in particular are looking for candidates to answer questions using the STAR technique so that they can get a good insight into how you would adapt and what your thought process is when it comes to some of the experiences that you may have had in not just in an engineering related industry, but in any industry that you've worked in the past. So there it is, a bit more detail: the situation, the task, the action, and the results. The interviewer wants you to present a recent challenge. What were you required to achieve? It falls under the task. What did you do is the action, and then what were the results? The results don't always necessarily have to, be what you're looking for, but it can sometimes give a bit of insight into, how you've adapted, how you've shown that you have those root cause analysis and troubleshooting skills that a lot of engineering companies are looking for. Finally, then, I suppose some reliable tips. Again, be punctual. Know the date, time, the exact location of the interview. Try and be 10 minutes early. And I would say the same for any online interviews as well, because of the fact that there are some, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Hangouts, they've all got different, intricacies that you need to be aware of. Okay, so just being sure that there's no technical issues going to get in the way of you putting your best foot forward. Know who you're meeting. Interview dress code is always business formal. We'd say it's always best to dress up. Be well groomed, switch off your mobile phone as I said, and concentrate on maintaining eye contact throughout the meeting, even if it is online. So I think Michal is going to open up to the floor. I'm going to stop sharing there if anyone has any questions, but I know that this presentation will be available to anybody afterwards if you like.
Thank you so much. And yeah, just want to say thanks again. Barry, you're such a really active member, always giving back to your professional body. And I think both of you today have been really great speakers. And just a recap of the learnings before I knock off the recording and go to our live Q&A is we learned a little bit about why you might join Engineers Ireland to make it your professional body, your professional home in Ireland. a little bit around how to verify your qualifications and how to do it entirely online. And finally, yeah, it's about some of the great opportunities that still exist in Ireland despite like a persisting, challenging pandemic. So yeah, thanks everyone again. I'm going to end the recording now and move to our live Q&A.